We'll start. So I'm from Belgium, and it's 5 o'clock in the evening in Belgium. And the funny thing is, well, it's not so funny for me, but my team is drinking wine and champagne over there, and I'm here with a glass of water. But hey, I will tell you about my career, not a lot of my career, but about the UX mistakes I've seen and how to avoid them. Let's try to get this thing working. All right, everybody, I hope you see my screen. So I'm Karl from AGConsult. It's also my Twitter name. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. And I'm one of those old guys in the industry. I'm doing this since 2001. I really started as a user researcher, so I did a lot of user testing because that's what we had 15 years ago. Usability, of course, information architecture. We now call it conversion optimization. Some people call it growth hacking, but the goal is the same. We try to understand our users and to improve a website based on it. These are some of our clients, but that's very boring stuff. Maybe you will recognize some names, maybe not, but that's not the most important thing. Maybe some of you have ever seen me talking on one of those conferences. I spoke at ConversionXL this year, CXL Live. I spoke at Digital Elite Camp, and if not, you will hear me for the next 45 minutes. As you're probably aware, well, someone is on me there. As you're probably aware, for next week, I think it's next Monday, the 22nd of May, I will start a live training on ConversionXL with more about UX, more about usability. So today it will only be the tip of the iceberg. The next 4 weeks, there will be more stuff. And the course is, in fact, I think it will be 3 or 4 classes will be about user research with tools like Hotjar and Formissimo and even Google Analytics and stuff like that, how you can learn things from what you see people doing on your website. And then the second part will be, of course, improving your website based on what you've learned. So it's not only tips and tricks, but I really want to show you how you can improve your website yourself on and on and on. There is a coupon code if you subscribe to this webinar, and the coupon code is UX Webinar. Whoa, that's a very difficult name to remember. Now, 10 reasons why so many websites fail and the biggest mistakes I've seen. And for those who only have 1 minute, I think you can reduce it to there's too much crap on so many websites. And the first thing I see is that there is a lot of visual crap on a lot of websites. And when I started in this business 16 years ago, I think half of the websites, they use Adobe Flash, so everything was moving. I think because a lot of people thought, oh, it's also a screen, so it's like a television, everything should move. And then we were so happy as usability people that Apple killed Flash because it's not allowed on their devices. So yes, very, very happy. And then those designers, and I'm sorry, sometimes I will be rude about designers and marketers, but we also make fun of them, and I love them. But then those designers thought, oh, but we can make video backgrounds with HTML5, and now we see this, and it's the same thing as 15 years ago. It's a lot of distraction, and I know it's fun to make, but as a user, it's horrible. When we did a 5-second test on this website, and we asked people, hey, what have you seen? The problem is that most people just answered, oh, a dog. And the website is not about a dog. It's about a TV online proposal, but nobody sees it. And yesterday, I was just looking at, this is the biggest bank in Belgium. There will be a lot of Dutch things, and this is their homepage, and it says, good afternoon, how can we help you? And then you see this couple driving around in a Vespa. They get off of their Vespa, they take their selfie stick, and in about 30 seconds, they will take a selfie. But this is a banking website. Why do you do those things? I really, really don't understand it. How do you think that this will help the visitors of your website? And that's one of the biggest problems. And I think it's a problem both designers making it, but it's also marketing people and owners of websites who love these things apparently, but really why are you doing it? It doesn't help your conversion. And what I noticed when I ask people, why do you have a video background? They say, yes, but Airbnb does it too. And then I am like, really? And I remember that Airbnb had a video background in the beginning, but I think then they hired a specialist and a conversion team, And if you go now to the website of Airbnb, it's not a lot of things are moving. It's just a very plain white background, which is good, but that gives you the attention to the USP, the value proposition, and all focus goes to the search box. So don't use, and even if there was a video background on Airbnb, but it isn't, don't use the arguments another website is using it. You won't see a video background on Google, Bing, Zalando, Airbnb, all those big websites. They don't have those moving things. Even Netflix, and they're specialized in selling you video and stuff like that. They don't have a video background. They just have a static background. So please, people, get rid of the visual crap. That's one of the first things. You could rather just burn your money, and if it's cold outside, you will have a bigger return on investment just by burning your money than making a video background. So don't use video backgrounds. They are the new sliders. Now, talking about sliders, why are you doing it? I don't know the situation in the United States or in Hungary. Oh, I know in Hungary. I was there a few months ago. But still, I think that 1/3 of all websites do have still those sliders like you see here. And once again, it's one of the things we know, and we know for many years. I looked back, and one of the first PDFs I wrote was in 2003. And it was 100 tips to improve your website. And tip number 64 was get rid of those moving things on your homepage. I didn't even know it was called a slider. So I just said the moving things on your homepage. And we're now so many years later, and still so many websites are using it. And all the evidence is against it. Like what we mostly see, and this is a study from an American university, when you have a slider, in this case it was 5 different slides, that about 85–87% of all clicks happened in the first slider. So then you have to ask yourself the question, why do I have these other sliders if nobody is using them? And it's pretty illogical that nobody is using them, because people, they arrive on a website and they start scrolling and they click and then nobody is staying on your homepage or whatever your slider is for 20 or 30 seconds and watching at your beautiful slides. People are not interested in that. And it's something we tested many years ago on the Suzuki website. But this test has been repeated by companies like Dell.com and Shoe.com, which is a retailer of, guess what, shoes in the UK, the biggest one. And they all did similar tests. So we had a slider, and we just took the images from the slider and we put them in the same screen real estate. And the funny thing is that we now had more clicks in the same screen real estate than we had on the slider. So this is proof that the slider is a waste of space, and that your conversion or the clicks you get from it are bigger when you ditch the slider. So yes, people, please believe me and help me to remove sliders from websites everywhere in the world. I don't want to tell this story again in 5 years. Sometimes I feel, as a UX specialist, I feel like a broken record. I'm always telling the same thing and the same thing because people are making the same mistakes over and over and over again. So that was my first basic thing that I see going wrong on so many websites, that is the visual crap and the animations and stuff like that. And the second thing, and it's related, is that a lot of people, when they make a website, they're shouting for attention of the user. And if you compare it with real life, it would be communication like this. And if you do that with a coworker or with a friend, I don't think they will like you. And the same is for your website. And the things we've seen, like those sliders and those video backgrounds, it's comparable with this guy. And I call it the look at me syndrome. And in real life, you all hate people like that. It's horrible. Persons that always want to be in the center point of attention. So get rid, once again, of those sliders and those video backgrounds, but there's more. And one of the things I see, and it's in every company, and I don't know where you are working, maybe some of you are self-employed and have a small website, or maybe are working for big brands, but most marketeers, they're like, yes, Carl, but on our homepage, we want to show off. We want to show people the new things we do, and we want to use big visuals and be very clear that our website is new. And then they use traditional advertising techniques. And I'm going to give you an example, and this is a fun project we did for a big insurance company, one of the biggest here in Europe, and they asked us to make the best possible or most efficient, not the most beautiful, but they asked us to make the most efficient homepage for their company. And as it often goes with usability people like me, at a certain moment during the project, we had a conflict with the client because, yeah, we as usability people, we tend to make boring things at work, and they wanted something more fun and beautiful to look at. So what we do, and that's typical for usability people, we don't go into discussion, we just do a test. So we made 2 versions of the homepage. It was a mock-up, it's not a final design. And then we asked people during an online user test questions. And one of the questions was like, hey, you just bought an apartment and you want to get an insurance for it. And this is our version, the boring version. Please don't pay attention to these black little dotted things. It has nothing to do with the user research. It's my very amateurish way to hide the name of the client. And it's in Dutch, but I will show you, and it will probably be clear. If you want to find something for your home insurance, you could click. So a possible good click would be on this icon of the home insurance. And here you also have a block that says My House, so people could click there. In the version of well, the client, of the creative agency of the client, they added a big banner on top. You see the guy here laying down on the floor of his apartment. There are even some boxes there, so he just moved in, and the text reads, insure your apartment and only pay per square meter. So people could click on the big banner. People could, of course, click on the home icon again, and also this block here that says My House. You could also have a direct entry here to apartments. And the funny thing is that, and you probably won't believe it, but this is a real test, that only 3% of all people clicked on the banner, although it was big and it has the answer, the direct answer to the question we asked. There was about 10% of people who clicked on the home icon, and even more people clicked on the direct links in the block of My House. Now it's in French, Mon Habitation over there. But that means, because of course we also asked other questions about this page, find an insurance for your car and stuff like that, and overall we had a failure rate of 42% and a success rate of 41%. If you add it up, it's about 60% success rate. In our version, the boring version, the success rate was about 61. No, if you combine those numbers, it's 80%, and the failure rate was only 20%. And this is not a final design, but the question you have to ask yourself is, what do I want? Do I want a beautiful website that looks good, but where people don't find the answer for the questions and don't find the information they're looking for? Or do you want a version that's maybe a little bit more boring, but that helps people and will probably help your conversion and your sales? A few weeks ago, I was at a conference, speaking at a conference, and I made a terrible joke, especially because the speaker before me was from Microsoft, and I said, do you want to be Google or do you want to be Bing? But it's the same question. And then if you look at Google, and if you look at even Zalando, but especially websites like eBay and Amazon, and we've seen Airbnb, most of those websites are not visually overwhelming. I'm not saying they're boring as hell, but they don't use those shout for attention, those banners like we've seen. It's not something new. Once again, we know it for a long time, banner blindness and stuff. It's been researched in 2003 and even maybe before, but people are still doing it. And my suggestion is, don't do it. And if you don't believe me, believe people like Jerry McGovern, which is one of my heroes. And he calls it offline marketing versus online marketing. And I don't really agree with the exact words, but I agree with the meaning of this quote. And what he says is that advertising, your billboard across the road, your TV commercial, your radio commercial, maybe even your AdWords, and especially your Facebook ads, they should grab my attention. They should get the attention of the user. But once the user is on your website, when the visitor is on your website, or imagine that somebody is in your physical store, you don't have to shout for attention anymore, but you have to give attention to his or her needs. And that's a very, very important element to remember. And this is another test, and this is a test not by us, but it was published on the Optimizely website. And you can see it's a website selling socks, and yeah, they had a big visual banner on top, and then you see that some products are bigger than the others. So they wanted to gain the attention to people to buy those products that are displayed bigger. And then they did a test with a more boring, more normal version of the page. So they get rid of the big banner, the cry for attention, and they also treated all products the same way. And the result is a big increase in average revenue per visitor. And it's something that we see over and over and over and over again. So please, people, remember this. Don't shout for attention, but give attention to your users. And if you want to make one product more attractive than the other one, look at other websites, successful websites, like here, Booking.com, how they do it. You see, they just use little labels that attract the eye of the customer, so a product stands out. But it's a more discreet way, is that a word in English? A discreet way to attract visitors, the attention of visitors to certain products, but don't use the big cry for attention. I'm gonna drink Coke. They're still drinking wine over there. Now, third thing that goes wrong on many websites. And let me tell you a story to make it clear why it's so important, this one. Think of how you yourself act when you're looking for something on the internet. You probably start with Google, maybe Bing. You do a search, you enter, and then you have the search result page on Google or Bing or whatever you use. And probably one of the things you do is click on one of the first three items. You just you click on it, you enter on a page, and then guess for yourself, how long does it take? And probably it's unconsciously, subconsciously, that you decide, I'm going to stay on this page, or I'm going back to Google and click on another result. Do you know, in average, how long that takes? Well, it's about 2 seconds, and for most, that's the average. So that means that for lots of people, it's within 1 second. For some people, it's maybe 3-4 seconds. But that's not very long, and that means that every page that ranks in Google, but I hope most of your pages rank in Google, that every page should grab the attention of the visitor within that 1 or 2 seconds. And within that 1 or 2 seconds, it must be immediately clear on which website am I, and what product or service is about, or even if it's a blog article, what is the blog article about, and will I find on this page what I'm looking for. All that should be clear in 2 or 3 seconds. And that's a difficult job. Well, it's not that difficult. If you look at this page for 1 second, you've already seen it, and you know this page is about the MacBook Pro, and it's from Apple. And do you know why you know it? Because it's one of the first things you see in the left-hand corner, MacBook Pro. It's repeated here, and it's the Apple design. And you're like, oh, this is the page of MacBook Pro. You immediately know that you're on the right page. The same for this one. It's like, whoa, what is this about? Oh, yes, it's the Amazon website, and it's a camera. And all right, about here I see it's the Nikon D75, blah, blah, blah. That's cool, that's clear. It's immediately clear on which page I am. Where am I now? Oh, this is a website about Bologna, and what can I do? It seems like a hotel website or something. Oh, yes, it's Booking.com. You see how those pages, they have the same elements. They have a very small top navigation bar. They don't have a lot of elements on their page. The focus is on the product or the service. There's not a lot of rubbish. There's not a lot of clutter and stuff like that. It's always very focused. It's very clear what they're about. Compare this with this page. Go ahead. What do you think that this page is about? Eggs? Oh, it's about Benjamin. Do you want to follow Benjamin? Is it about brown eggs? No. Is it about 6 eggs or 8 eggs? We have no idea. You know, this page is about 8 things every person should do before 8 AM in the morning. I don't know what that has to do with eggs, But one of the problems here, and it is a big problem on many websites, is that a lot of web pages, they start with a big image, and you have to scroll beyond the image before you see what the page is about. And 10x, 2, 4, 6, 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 12x. Yeah, all right, Ahmed. This is another example. This is from a Dutch newspaper website, and the only thing you see is a big photo, and you see here at the bottom of the page, you see the start of the title of the article. And I guess that you agree with me that the first thing you want to see on a news website is the title. And once again, if you don't believe UX people like me, maybe you should look at other guidelines. And this is the Google quality guidelines, and they say that it should be very clear what the page is about. It should be upfront. It should be the first thing that people see. And if you study, once again, the page of the Apple product page, you see the MacBook Pro, a touch of genius, and then there's a big photo. So please, don't quote me wrong, because some people think that I and usability people are against images. No, not at all. But first the title, then the image. Or yes, can we put the title on the image? Oh yes, you're allowed, but people should immediately see what your page is about. We did a test about this. This is a test we did on a German website. So there's a big image, and it's a nice image. This website is about terraces. It's not about the furniture, it's about the terrace. So one of the things we tried is, okay, let's make the image a bit smaller, and you see what happens. The rest of the contents is more visible, because with the big image, the content was pushed down, and the result was kind of amazing. Which you see the number of people, or the increase in clicks on the buttons, the increase in clicks on the different products, and the number of clicks further on the page. It's a big gain, just because we made the image a little bit smaller, and that it's clear to see what the page is offering, what the page itself is about. So understand or remember from this one that your page title and maybe your basic offer should be right smash bam in the face of the visitor. Second thing, and some of the things I will teach you or try to make you very clear during the UX course I'm giving for CXL, is what you can learn from Google Analytics or Hotjar. And this is a typical landing page. It's a very long landing page, and there's nothing wrong with it as such. But one of the things we noticed was that only 52% of people got to the second screen, and that means it's a landing page. So that 48%, that's almost half of the visitors that clicked on an ad somewhere, they arrived on this page and they were like, huh? And they were gone. They didn't do anything. They didn't even start to scroll. They didn't interact with the page. And that means that you have a problem with the page. And maybe as a business owner, you don't see the problem because it's your product, and sometimes it's very difficult to have a neutral vision. And one of the things we do, and it's also one of the things I try to learn to teach you, is we set up 5-second tests all the time. That allows you to upload a screenshot, and it's a small test. People will see the screenshot for 5 seconds, and then you can ask them several questions. Well, don't ask too many questions. We only ask one, and that is, what is this page about? What is this product about? And these were the answers for this particular page. And it's not good. If the no ID is as big as this one, you really have a problem. And also the rest of the answers are kind of very random. If you see share with something, that's not exactly what the product is doing, because the product is a product that allows you to share a projector or a television screen wirelessly in a meeting room. But if you look at the text, it's very unclear. It's like wireless presentation system, wireless collaboration, Barco's wireless presentation and collaboration system. It's like boring. And if you see a problem like that, when people don't scroll and they leave, then you probably have a content problem. It can also be a design problem. Most of the time, it's a content problem with your website. And usability and UX is also about content. It's not only about the beauty of your page. So one of the things we did here, we just used our common sense, but we also asked people who bought the product, okay, why did you buy it and where were you afraid of? And we went to the call center, And this is the alternative version we made for an A/B test. And the first thing you see is the things that people were afraid of, or in the most meeting rooms. It's like, oh no, then we have to call the IT guys when we can't attach a computer to the projector and all those cables. It's a mess. And this thing, the video here, it's a small video. I think it was about 48 seconds long. It shows you the 8 top asked questions about this product to the salespeople and at the call center. And the result of this is that now we are using the real questions of the visitors who want to buy this product, and they recognize themselves. And that's very important when it goes about content, that people can recognize themselves. And in this case, it led to more engagement, more people downloading the brochure, more requests for quotes. But the first thing, see if people scroll on your page. What is the bounce rate on your pages? Is your message clear? Use a 5-second test. And if it's not clear, you have to find a solution. This is the 5-second test of the improved version. There is still some people saying no ID, which I hate. So that proves that there's still room for improvement. But take it step by step. Make your website better and better step by step. So those 5-second tests, it's a service now acquired by Usability Hub. It costs about $99 a month, but do it for 1 month and it will help you. Even if you just have an idea or you're in doubt, like, is this page better than that page? Well, just upload 2 of those screenshots, do a 5-second test, and it will be clear if your message is clear or not. Another example of this, I like this one because it was made by one of the biggest web agencies here in Belgium. This is already a click heat map. The page starts here on top with a widescreen video. It's about a smart thermostat. The page, something like the Nest thermostat. So one of the things we noticed was that the button that was of the most clicks on the whole of the page was on the pause button. So people tried to stop the video. And when we took a scroll heat map, we noticed that people were just leaving right after the video. So they didn't even, they paused, they scrolled a bit, and then they were like, yeah, bugger off. In our version, we ditched the video. And once again, I'm not saying that video is bad, because we used the video in the previous example, but a widescreen video that auto-plays on a landing page, maybe not the best idea in the world. So in our version, people got scrolling. So, and this is one of the things that a lot of designers don't like, because we as usability people, we call it the page fault, which is a very traditional word. It's coming from the print industry. It's what you see when your newspaper is folded, is the thing you see when it's folded before you open it. And I know that you have many page faults, many screen resolutions. You have smartphones, of course, with all resolutions. But the thing you see in your viewport without scrolling has a very big impact whether people will stay on your page and whether they will interact with your page and will start to scroll and stuff like that. So this is something very important to measure in Google Analytics or Hotjar. But I teach you those things, are how you can learn what people do in your websites during that workshop I'm doing for CXL. Now, fourth reason, or one of those big things that why people are of UX mistakes, why people are leaving websites, is pages don't have a focus. People just put things on their web page and think, okay, let the user find it out. No, it doesn't work like that. Once again, look at this page. There is no distraction anywhere. There's nothing on the left-hand side. There's nothing on the right-hand side. The navigation bar is very small. So the full focus of the visitor is on the product. There's no distraction. And this is very important. You have to get rid of the crappy stuff, but that means that you have to identify the crappy stuff, and you should only keep the good stuff. And this is a Dutch website, and I think it's very important because you don't understand the language, but most of the things that we decide as a human, language is important, but the first impression is a visual impression. And this page is a page about a holiday, but it's full, and there's some people, a photo of people, and there's a lot of things here, and you can subscribe to your newsletter there, and you can mail them, and there are social share buttons on different pages, elements on the page. And I'm going to show you a different version. The different version, I just made it just before this webinar, and I made it in Microsoft Paint because I had 10 minutes left, but this is how I would make this page. And once again, this is not a design and not a final design, but I hope you see the difference. Even if you don't understand the language, we have a small top on top, we have a bullet list that always helps, like very clear, tack, tack, tack. This is what this is about. We have a very price offering, big photos, Microsoft Paint still alive. I don't know. Yes, it is on my computer. Something else, something that I use. Nobody knows it, but Microsoft Paint is still alive, and it's good if you have 10 minutes and you have nothing to do. But I hope you see the difference. This is not about Microsoft Paint. I hope you see the difference between those two pages. This is like, bleh, and this is like, oh, yes, tack, 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 a very, very clean image. This is a real life example. It's a screenshot I took 1 year ago. I don't know how the website now looks, but this is a website about cruises and holidays. Do you feel the holiday feeling? Do you get relaxed when you see this page? Do you feel zen? No? Okay. Do you feel zen when you see this page? Do you feel relaxed when you see this page? Yes. And you see the difference. It's a limited number of elements. It's a very clear design, not a lot of text, just like, bam, this is it. And that's so important that you limit the number of elements, and of course your message will be clear. That's not something new, but yeah, you have to find that focus on your website. And it's one of the first tips I always give to people. If they ask me, Carl, how should I improve my website? It's like, just look at your web pages and do count down timers work. Yes, that's a good question. Most of the time they do work. I'm not going to talk about those little persuasion techniques. It's a question I see in the chat. But yes, those persuasion techniques, they work. So one of the tips I often give to people is just look at the page and maybe print it. Oh, that's boring. Print the page and take a big red marker and draw big red crosses on all elements of which you think, why is it there? Do I really need it? Those things. And this is a shopping cart. I think it's a rather standard shopping cart. I think the platform was Magento, and it's not because you use Magento or because you use WooCommerce or whatever you're using. And especially not if you're using WordPress themes, that everything is good. No. Those people have no idea about usability and UX. So in this case, once again, you don't understand it, but I guess you know what this is about. This is the enter your coupon code. Do you have a coupon code? Now, can I ask, what do you do if you're on a website and you see something like enter your coupon code and you don't have one? What do you do? Exit from the cart. Yeah, probably. And maybe you go to Google, you open a new tab. Yes, Catherine Zina. You go looking for the code. So you open a new tab, you look for a coupon code, you find one, but probably you try it and it's outdated, and then you find a coupon code for a similar website, and bam, the moment is over. And that's, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to use a coupon code, but maybe you should do it a little bit more discreet. And you see the element here on the right-hand side, you know what that means. It's to empty, to delete something from a shopping cart, but the red draws the attention. Maybe you should put it in black. There's also a crazy button here. This one reads empty your shopping cart. Why would you do those things? And of course, when we deleted or made those elements less clear, less visible, like here, the coupon code thing, we saw an increase in conversions because there was less distraction and people had more focus. Now, remove clutter, very, very important. Yeah, the general rule and the usability rule, most of the usability rules are very general, but if there's something on a web page, you should have a justification why it's there. And the justification is not, oh, I've seen it on another website. No. Justification is not, I think it's beautiful. No. It doesn't matter if it's beautiful or it's ugly. Well, if it's ugly, maybe it's not the best idea in the world, but does it add to the bottom line? Does it help you to sell more? What is the reason why you put it there? Now, talking about the coupon code, and to my surprise, I think it's disappeared from the Macy's website, but Macy's has done it for a long time. You see there the little thing next to the promo code? Find your coupon code, and when you clicked on it, it opened the list with all current coupon codes. And the funny thing is that people are not leaving your websites, and you give them a gift, so people are so happy with it. So this is one of the little persuasion tricks you can use. Back to the distraction thing. I tend to call social share buttons social shit buttons, because most people, they just have, oh yeah, let's put social share buttons everywhere on our website. And once again, I'm not saying you can't use them, but you have to think, is this a good use of it? This is an A/B test not done by us, but on a website that sells, in this case, it's, how do you call that in English? A snow remover thing. They sell big things to, also for lawnmowers and things like that. Can I ask you, who has recently, yes, a snowblower, thank you, who has recently shared their snowblower or their lawnmower on Facebook? Anyone? No? No? Really? I do it all the time. No, I never do it. So you see the problem there? One problem. It always says 0, 0, 0, so that's not very attractive. Two, those buttons, they require a lot of code, so they delay the loading time of a page. And I'm not saying that people are consciously like, oh, should I buy the product because this button is buying the product, or should I share it on Facebook? But the fact that you have the possibility, subconsciously, you're in doubt. When they removed the social shit buttons, in this case, they saw a lift in conversions. So you have really to think about every element. Does it add to my conversions? It's getting dark outside in Belgium and the light is off. Cool. I hope you still see me. Another example. You know, we ended here a few slides ago. It's about 50 slides ago already. So we removed the slider, and then we had those 4 images, and it had an uplift. And I thought, oh, less is more. Maybe if we only have 2 images, 2 cries for attention instead of 4, will we now have more people clicking or less people? In the same screen, real estate, on everything combined. And the surprising, or for me, it was a surprising result at first. So the result was indeed that we now have even 55% more clicks. Because yes, less is more. And when people have less choices, they will probably make their choice faster, because they don't have to think a lot about it. So remove the fluffy stuff. Oh, we only have 20 minutes left. Ooh, it's good. Everybody having fun? Are people still asleep? We're still about 85 people following, and we started with 84, 85, so that's good. Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Curtis, Ryan, Don. Yes, you like it. This is awesome info, Bettina. Thank you. So we will continue for a while. I hope they leave some wine for me. So talking about that, removing distraction. This is another example, and you've probably seen several or similar information. So this is, once again, is the landing page you saw before. And one of the things was on this page was this navigation. And the navigation is a so-called sticky navigation. So when you scrolled, the navigation was always visible. Wine, that's good. Oh, I'll get them. They're sitting outside now. Yeah, make me jealous. I have some water left. So there was a sticky navigation. The navigation was always there. The problem here is the corporate navigation. It's not even about the product. And when we removed that sticky navigation during an A/B test, of course, we noticed that more people now request an offer. I'm going to leave you for 1 second. I'm really going to call someone to bring me some wine. Zeg, mannen, mag ik een glaasje wijn? Mag ik een glaasje wijn, alsjeblieft? Mag ik een glaasje wijn? All right, I'm back. And I put on the light, because it's getting darker here, and the wine is coming. Yeah, good questions over there. See if you have some time left. Or otherwise I will answer them during the course. So another example of this is a website where they sell travel stuff. This is the page where you can buy flight tickets. And once again, we did a test whoa, that was unprofessional. It's not unprofessional, it's good. So everybody was coming in, there were a lot of AdWords and Facebook ads coming to this page, and the people reacted on an ad like cheap flight tickets. But you see in the main navigation, there's travel deals and last minutes, and the result of this is that people were distracted. So we did an A/B test where for those people coming from AdWords and Facebook ads, we removed the navigation, we just made it empty. And the result was that we now had an uplift in 33% of bookings from those people. Once again, distraction is not good. So we have to remove distractions. Cool. I think the wine is up. They don't have it anymore. Let's move to another important part, because now we've been talking mainly about the beginning of your page, and it should be very clear what you have to offer and visual very clear. The second thing, of course, the action or your income or your leads or your sales, or if you're in the service industry, people asking you for a quote or an offer, will come from your call to actions. And one of the biggest problems is that call to actions are not very clear. One of the things we often see, like on this website, is that you have several call to actions fighting with each other, and then there's even a fight with the social share buttons, and those things are not very clear. So when we remade this website, we now only have one button, tag this red thing. It draws the attention of the visitor. There's only one action they can do, and of course, this resulted in more conversions. Sometimes you have a secondary call to action. You want people to add something to their wish list or something. The problem then is if you have your main call to action, buy this and or add to wish listing. Yeah, good question. I will answer that in a second. Then those people, those buttons are fighting with each other. So what Zalando is doing, I think it can even be improved, but they have one colored button, that's the main call to action, and one button that is less visible, that's their secondary call to action. Good question, Deb. The wish lists, do they work? Well, yes, more often they do work, because yeah, it allows you to start a relationship with your visitor, because people maybe come on your website, they just make first selection, they add something to the wish list, and they continue their shopping spree later on. For example, in the travel industry, the average person only books a trip after 26 surfing sessions. So everything in between that helps you to grab their email address or connect with them and add to a wish list, they will probably ask for your email address. When you do so, will probably result in a relationship and a bigger chance that people return to your website. Bye, Peter. See you next time. Secondary call to actions, what we often see is things like this. We have one main call to action, the one on the left, and this one on the right is a secondary call to action. One main call to action and a secondary call to action. One main call to action and a secondary call to action. So one button and the other one is just a link or text, so that your buttons, your call to actions are not fighting with each other. Second problem we often have with websites is our design of buttons is the ghost button, like this one. Do you know where the button is? Do you see the button? No, it's this little thing over there. You see? It's integrated in this design, and once again, that's one of the problems I have with design, is it's like, yes, but otherwise the button destroys my design. But a button should be so clear, should be immediately visible for the visitor. Like this one, it's like, bam, this is the buy button. If you don't understand the language, you know, like this is the button, and your button should be as clear as possible. Unbouncy the test with this, and I like the test. They wanted to see if their normal buttons, what would be the difference with this button and a, what they call a ghost button, a less visible button. And the result was that with the ghost button, they had 600% more people now clicking on things that were not clickable. There's a question, what about using a decoy secondary button to increase motivation on the real desired action? Sometimes it works, sometimes not. So yes, there have been experiments where they have a main call to action and then the secondary call to action is just like read this page or something. Often that works to increase the clicks on the main call to action. So yes, the decoy in general is a technique that does work. Make your call to action as visible as possible. One last tip about it: make sure that people see it. This is the old version of the Suzuki website. I was the information architect for that one, and I thought that those buttons on top looked very good. So I put them on the right-hand corner. And that was a stupid idea, because how do people look at this page from the left to the right? Where will people look? They will read the bullet list, because bullets draw the attention. And yes, when we moved the main call to actions to the left-hand side of the page, there was a big increase in the number of clicks. This is something similar, and I don't think it's the same result when you do it on a webinar, but I often do this in conferences. I show this page where you have a call to action right on top of the page, even before you see where the page is about, and then you have a call to action at the end of the page. And then in the second version on the right, you have a call to action here on the right hand side, and when you scroll, the call to action is always visible. And then I ask people, what do you think leads to more conversions? The one with the call to action on top of the page and right at the bottom of the page, or the one here on the right? Yeah, Olivier, you're right, top, bottom. The funny thing is, I did it yesterday in a room full of marketers, and 95% choose for the one on the right, and that's not right. Because the right-hand side is what I call the graveyard of the internet, and the difference is rather big, and it's not something new. This is a study from 2003 done by Jacob Nielsen, where he proved that nobody was looking at the right-hand side. There's another study from 2010 that proved that people after 600 pixels, they lose their attention. There's even last year, Google removed the right-hand bar, and still people put their call to actions on the right-hand side. And please don't do it. It will not help you. But even more important than the design of your call to action is what is on your call to action as a text. This is an example in German, but you will, I don't know if you understand it. That's one of the advantages of living in Belgium, and I have to, damn it, I have to remove something. Okay, let's go back. There's something in front of my thing. I'm gonna, okay. All right, now I see what you are seeing. So this website, the main call to action is they want people to look for a dealer. So this button, Fachbetrieb suchen, that means search a dealer. And the question is simple for you. Do you want to search a dealer, or do you want to, yes, find a dealer? So we changed it to Fachbetrieb vinden, which indeed means find a dealer. And the result is that we had now 14% more people using that button. Once again, it's just a trick. And search a dealer is what you want. Find a dealer is what the customer wants. And you always have to try to phrase your call to action like what would be the results for the customer, for the visitor. That means don't use buttons with send or submit. Don't use a button that says subscribe to our newsletter. And I have my wine now. It's 6 o'clock in Belgium now, evening, not in the morning. So, thanks. Instead of subscribe to your newsletter, don't move it to get a newsletter, but what is the real result of your newsletter? How will people, how will your newsletter make their lives better? Yes, I want the tips. I want the latest promotions. Don't miss the latest promotions. So things like that will really help. Don't put ask a quote on a button, but people, the customer, they want to get a quote, receive a quote. And when do they want it? They want it now. Get your quote now. Do they want your quote or their quote? Get my quote now. So those little things with the copyright will probably also help you. This is a test we did for a client, and I loved it because we made the button get a quote, and then the client was, yes, Carl, but in reality, sometimes we have to call the client because we don't have enough information. So please, can you make it contact sales? And I was like, yeah, but we shall test it. And the results were like, not so good. And then I was Carl, but then you told us that you should make it personal. So maybe you should make contact us. And I was like, no, but I don't think so. And indeed, there was even a bigger drop in conversion. And just for the fun of it, we tried get your quote now, and maybe get my quote now would be even better. And that indeed caused a increase in conversion. So make it as personal as possible. I'm going to skip this example because otherwise we're going a bit over time. Stupid trick, but a very efficient one. A lot of people, they only have one call to action on their page, and most of the time it's on top of the page. Like in this example, you have call to actions on top of the page. At the end of the page, people who reach the end of the page, what do you think? Are they more interested in what you have to offer or less interested? Ta-da! They're more interested in what you have to offer. Just repeat your call to action at the bottom of the page. It's like, yeah, a fisherman, your bait is out and you just have to lure the fish in. So yeah, use those little tricks. You've probably seen it on this example. The call to action was on top of the page and on the bottom of the page. It always works. Those things, they really, really work. Don't be afraid to repeat your call to action. Like on this page, there's 4 call to actions. They're all the same, leading to the same page. Don't be afraid. Now, we're almost there. Only, I think, about 10 minutes. Yeah, we will do it. Until now, we've mainly talked about visual things and about design things. And sometimes I talked a little bit about copy and being customer-centric. And I think that's the biggest problem with so many websites is that you're not really customer-centric. Should you vary the copy of that same CTA button? That's a very good question, Jerry. We used to repeat the same call to action, but we now just started with doing little variations, and the variations more often lead to more conversion. So yes, try to adapt the copy on your call to action on the place where it's in the website. Try to align it with the thing that you are telling just before the call to action. Good question. What do you think about the CTA being docked at the top left of the page? Sorry, I'm going back to this slide in a minute. This is just some call to action questions. The sticky call to action, yes. I would probably do it. I'm thinking of test with them, and I don't know the results by heart, but I think that most of the time the sticky button at the bottom of the page works better, and especially on mobile, because then it's near your thumb. So if you have a sticky call to action, try it at the bottom of the page. Good question, David. So back to the customer centricity. One of the problems is that 80% of companies, they say that they are customer centric. And the funny thing is, when you ask their clients, is that company customer centric, then only 8% agrees. So there's a big problem between what the company thinks and what their client thinks. And one of the things, it's yeah, and I know everybody has seen those quotes from Bezos and Steve Jobs, but they're very important. See what he's saying. They're customer obsessed, but they start from the customer need and then they work backwards. And Steve Jobs said something similar. We start with the customer experience and then we work backwards to technology. And what we often see is that people start with their product and then, oh, how are we going to sell it? They start with the technology, their content management system, and then how can we try to sell stuff with it? You have to work backwards. And this is an example of TUI, which is a travel agency, one of the biggest here in Europe. And as so many travel websites, they have on their homepage 2 fields. Where do you want to go and when do you want to go? And that seems very logical. But when we asked people on the website, hey, for the trip you're about to book, bye Robin, see you later. For the trip you're about to book, what do you already know? And these were the results. And it's like, for me, it was like a shock because the company existed for 60 years and they've never done that research. But 43 of the visitors that were about to book or were looking for a holiday, they didn't have a destination in mind. So there goes your where field. 51% had no fixed dates in mind. There goes your when field. A bigger group had a time frame in mind, like, okay, summer holidays or Christmas holidays, and even a bigger group knew what type of vacation they wanted. Beach vacation, ski, holiday, culture, walking, stuff like that. And imagine, and it's not imagination, it's true, in September, October, yeah, one of the most asked questions in travel agencies is, during Christmas season, I want to go somewhere where it's hot. At least in Belgium, that's one of the most often asked questions. Yeah, that won't work with these websites. And that's why you really have to start with the customer and think, what does he want? And if you don't know what he wants and he needs, just ask him. Remember this example, the boring text that doesn't say anything, the text that we adapted based on what users said about the product, a big increase in conversions because we didn't use bullshit words, but we were as precise as possible. One last example of this is a website selling car parts. I have no idea. I know what a car part is, but I don't have a car part. So as a person, I have no idea how people would decide on buying a car part and why they need a car part. And there's so many websites, the bullet lists, and the bullet list here is about the features of the car part, like 10 years guaranteed rust-free. It will hold hail balls the size of a tennis ball and things like that. And when we ask customers, hey, why did you buy this car part? And if we ask them, was there something that made you hesitate? Those were important questions. But then we asked a question that I think most marketeers don't dare to ask. But we really said something. We asked, okay, if we would come to your house tomorrow and break down your car part, what would you miss the most? And it's a shocking question, I know, but we had a response rate of 86%, so that's kind of okay. But then people, they answered things like, oh no, then I have to scrape the ice from my windows, from my windshields in the morning, and oh no, when it's hot and the car is really, really hot without a car part, and I hate it when I have to unload my groceries in the rain, and oh, I have to go to the car wash more often. So they were all arguments that weren't on the website. Nobody said, oh, I will miss the fact that it's not rust-free. Nobody. And nobody said things like, oh no, when it hails and now thanks to the epoxy glass, the hail balls will not crash my car. Nobody answered those things. And I'm not saying they're unimportant, but they were not top of mind with the customers. And in the new version of this page, and at first glance, this might look as a new design, and it is, but it's not really about the design, it's about the build-up of the page. We used those answers. You see this little bullet list on top of the page? This is the bullet list, and I know most people can't read it, but this really says, are you tired of scraping the ice from your windshield in the morning, getting in a very hot car in summer? Are you tired of unloading your groceries in the rain and stuff like that? So we just used the same arguments as the users, what they wanted. And the result of this is that people start nodding. They land on this page, they're looking for a car part, and yes, people are tired of those things because that's one of the main reasons they were looking for a car part. And that means that the mood, the mental mood of the people is changing. They're like, yes, I'm tired of this. And then, of course, we propose a solution and we talk about the 10 years guaranteed rust-free and stuff like that. But because we brought them in a positive mood, the number of conversions went up. And that's a very, very, very important thing. And it's not what a lot of people see as UX, traditional UX, but it's very important. And summarized, it's like stop selling the way you want to sell stuff and start selling the way people want to sell. I will teach you a lot of techniques about this and how to discover those facts during the training. I don't have time for this because we're going over time. These are some examples that prove that if you combine those tricks that I told you that they will work, we'll go deeper into that during the training. But it's 6 o'clock and it was supposed to be a 1-hour session, so we're going over these things. So if you want to know more, if you liked this little presentation, I hope you have already some actions, things that you want to change on your website or things that you need to discover. If you want more to know more about usability, more about UX, more about using those little tricks to improve your website, please look at the landing page for that UX and usability live course. Remember, if you want to subscribe, that there's a coupon code, so you don't have to Google for it. It's a UX webinar, so it will be something like this. Oh, it's not working on my end. Yes, UX webinar. No, not like that, but like this. So use it. I hope to see you there. It starts next Monday. It will be fun. It will be good. There's the link. They're sharing it. I'm going to look back at some of the questions, but I think I answered most of them. One question was, what books do you recommend? There are several books. It's really about the basics, about usability. It's Don't Make Me Think from Stephen Crook. It's like, yeah, it's the basic handbook for usability. It's very easy written. It brings you into the right mindset. It's one of my favorite books. I think it's one of the books where it all started with me. If you want to know more about psychology, there's a rather good book called Predictable Irrational, I think, or Predictably Irrationally, which is about that people do things subconsciously, but even then you can predict what they're doing. So it's more about psychology tricks. And of course, yes, Predictably Irrational by Dan Riley. Thank you for that. And then of course there's the Cialdini books, also about persuasion techniques. So those are my three books I would recommend to start with. More about this, more about usability and UX next week. I hope you liked it. For those who still are in a time zone where it's Friday morning, sorry for the line, but the weekend has started here in Belgium. I hope you have a good day, you have a good weekend, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. Thank you.